Welcome into another episode of the podcast Trips. This one, I say this every time, I'm always excited about the episodes. It's because I'm always around incredible people that I know for a fact are going to deliver tremendous value. But when it comes to Jack, he's someone that has been a client of ours for a good 4 or 5 months now, maybe even a bit longer than that. But I've also followed his Instagram, seen what he's been doing for quite some time, and he has been absolutely crushing it. And he's managed to start crushing it in a really short time frame for people that are usually in business. And we're going to unravel a shit ton of that today. Is there anything, I guess, where we could kind of start is obviously what you do as a whole, which is that you're in the kind of Ecom dropshipping space.
Yep.
How did you get in there in the first place? How did that become the first business?
So kind of came about maybe early 2022. Kind of a strange story how it started. I was always someone when I was younger looking at ways to try and make money online, whether that was selling phones, going to people's houses, buying phones, fixing them up, selling them on eBay. I've always kind of liked selling stuff online, but that kind of transpired into I was out one day and I must have bought something from JD, a Nike t-shirt it was. I went home, tried it on, didn't fit. So I was like, I'm going to have to sell these on eBay or something like that because I couldn't return it. So I sold it, two of them both sold it, and I sold it for like £10 more. And that kind of kick-started that journey, and then I thought there must be something here. There must be an avenue where I can make money through reselling clothes. So then I started getting more. I started an Instagram page, started my own sort of little small brand that I would sell to like friends and family, and that took off. And I was making some extra money alongside at a part-time job, and I was also at uni studying business at the time, so that was good. Then I progressed into learning how to build my first website through Shopify, and then running ads. And then from there, I kind of slowly built that up, and I managed to get to 40 to 50k months. But after a while, I knew that it wasn't scalable, and then end of 2023 I stumbled upon dropshipping, which I'd always kind of known about through just TikTok, Instagram, lots of people talking about it. Even my dad was saying like, why do you not try that dropshipping out? So I thought to myself, I'll give it a go, and then yeah, here we are today, and I've managed to do quite well so far. So
awesome, bro. Fucking love that, mate. When it come to one of the things with Unravel, you said you got to like 40, 50k months with the reselling, but you felt like it wasn't scalable. What was the main kind of thought process that made you?
So it makes sense. Like, you're relying on other brands bringing out good products. So you're relying on Nike, Under Armour, Adidas bringing out the newest trainers, jackets and t-shirts that are actually going to sell. But again, you're limited by what they put out and if you could even get your hands on it. So you can only scale to a certain amount unless you've got contacts direct with Nike, which is pretty much impossible. Yeah. And plus, if you get to a certain level, you become VAT registered, and the margins are so thin. Even if you've done like 100k a month, you're maybe taking 5 to 10% away at the end of the day. So it's not scalable in any way at all. Yeah. And I realised that early on. I was like, I'm having to work extra jobs alongside this to even make a decent income. So I was like, this is no good. And then funnily enough, the way that I stumbled upon dropshipping was, I was on TikTok one day, and this guy was, if he's watching this, he knows exactly who he is. So I was on TikTok, he was documenting his sales results. He was making £1,000 one day. Next day, £2,000. I was like, what is this guy selling? Then maybe like a few days after that, I was on Facebook, and the same guy was in an ad selling a product. So I was like, that's what he's selling, I'm going to give that a go. So I went home, ordered the product from Amazon, built the website, started making ads, and then that took off from there. And then I've never looked back. Wow.
So literally came
from
just
something so small. So that's the thing with dropshipping. Like, if you figure out what somebody's product is, you could snap it up and start selling it straight away.
I love that, bro. What do you think of if you were to start dropshipping now? When I asked you this, because I seen Harry put it on his story last night. I don't know if you've seen. It was basically his guide to if you were to start dropshipping or e-commerce, some sort of brand. What do you believe are the steps to building a successful brand or even a dropshipping business as a whole?
I think it's getting more difficult every single year. Yeah. Back to like 2015, 2016, Facebook ads was a totally new thing. Yeah. Like, you were able to acquire customers for 4 times less than you are now. So probably what I would do is I would go with a custom product, a custom brand from the get-go if you've got capital. If not, I would start with dropshipping, learn how to build a website, learn how to run ads, learn how to get good on camera and record your own content and stuff like that. I think that was a big factor for me, getting comfortable with speaking on camera, which, if I look back when I was in my teenage years, something that I wasn't confident at speaking on camera, let alone in person as well. Yeah. So I've grown quite a lot from when I was younger. But in terms of building a brand, I would say if you've not got the capital, I would start with dropshipping because you don't need to buy any inventory. It's a case of can you make good ad creatives, find a product that sells, run a website, you're going to get sales. It's easier said than done, but that's how I started. A lot of people say it's saturated online, like there's no one actually making real money from it. Well, there is. That's just a negative mindset. People, they're too pessimistic. There's so much opportunity, so many products out there. We come across so many products all the time. It's just being a case of being in the right place at the right time and actually just putting all your effort into it and having that belief that it's actually possible.
Why do you think that they think it's so like too saturated, not wasted?
Because they'll try it. When you do try and you're working a job and you make what £100 a day, you have to spend £50 to £100 a day on ads to get anywhere. And you might go 1 to 2 weeks in the red before you even see a slither of success. Like we started a store maybe, I think it was April 2024, and for the first 2 weeks we knew it was a product that was doing well, but for the first 2 weeks we were in the red, but we had such conviction in the product that it was going to work. We stuck at it, which most people won't do. They won't stick at it for more than a couple of days and just give it up. That's why they say it's saturated, because it's very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think the risk aspect of it, we're speaking about it just outside, like the risk tolerance on a spectrum of scale of being willing to spend with the uncertainty that you're going to make anything back, when that's all ads is, like putting skin in the game. It's
essentially gambling, and like a better way of gambling. You're gambling on Facebook and your ads you're making to bring you money back. And in the beginning, if you've not got the skills to do so, you're probably not going to make money back, but that's how you learn. Like if I go back to the very, very start when we were just making our first ads, I think, well, it was myself at the time, December 2023. If I go back looking at the ads I made back then, they're nowhere near as good as they are now. But I had to go through that process of being bad and having maybe just like a bit of success to now we've got an editor on board. Like we have a particular way that we structure the ads, a framework that we follow, and that makes it much, much better and more efficient.
How would the development process, besides just spending and just learning almost like on the job, is there any like key components or advice you would give around anyone starting Facebook ads?
I would focus just on creatives. Like a lot of people tend to think that your website's important, like small little changes, text, copy, that does matter, but creatives is the most important part. We always follow a specific framework, as I said. Focus on the hook, that's the thing that's going to bring people in, but don't sell on like features and benefits of the product. You need to sell on the emotion. What are people going to feel when they get the product? What problems they're going to solve? Give them their dream outcome, sort of like what Hormozy says, like dream outcome with the lowest amount of effort. That's what we always go for. Sell on them like visualising the product, how they're going to have it in hand and how it's going to improve their life. That's what I would focus on.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And I think it's something that like when we were first learning ads, which would have been back in like 2022, probably around about that point, it was like breaking it down into components. And it's funny because we actually now use ad components as well, but when I say components, I'm referring to, just like you're saying, like the ads, the job of the ads is to get the click. It's in service based, that's probably where it's a little bit different to like the kind of ecom dropshipping side of things, because it's like the ad's sole job is to get the click. And then when you get to the funnel does so much of the work and leg room for service-based businesses, because ultimately, if they're opting into a service, there's so much trust that is required to be built. And I think for a product, like the way that you'll be positioning a lot of the ads as well, from an emotion and dream outcome perspective, there's so many ads now that even me, mate, knowing that I'm getting fucking sucked into shit,
you don't want to buy.
It makes me want to, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, I know I'm just getting...
Yeah, you're being sold too.
I'm just getting sold too.
Yeah, there is difference between service-based and product-based. Like most of the time, product's going to do the selling for itself.
Yeah.
As you said, you just need to get the click and make sure you have an offer that's maybe different to like an Amazon or TikTok shop because especially with what we do, we sell products that are sold everywhere. So they're going to be on TikTok shop, they're going to be on Amazon, and probably for half the price or even cheaper than that. And they could get it within 1 to 2 days. With us, it's like 7-day delivery. So you need to make sure when you do get that click, that the offer's so good, you're offering something that Amazon and TikTok shop can't, that they want to buy from you. You need to get that impulse purchase rather than them like thinking to themselves. You don't want them to have that thought, oh, I'm going to check Amazon and buy it from there. Yeah,
which like ultimately like, having that second thought, because one of the things I thought about like the supplement side of things, you get fed so much information that, like, if I didn't have fucking Hamza as a coach who's an absolute obsessive with all that shit, like he whips up his own supplements, like, and I know he lab for himself. Yeah, he just like loves that shit. Yeah, he loves it. Like, understands the different dynamics of it. Like, for example, he's been taking we take so this was the thing when I started working with Hamza, I was like, what's your supplement stack? And he was like, I'll build you a stack guy. So I was like, class. One of the things he takes, which is like magnesium, AM and PM pills, which is they're on bulk.com or whatever.
Yep.
And he's so anal about all that shit that he started taking them back in 2016, so years ago.
Wow.
And he has noticed that the dosage from one of the components of magnesium, one of the compounds, has changed. Like they've iterated down and down and down the dosage of this very specific part of the magnesium supplement, to the point that he's like, he understands it so fucking well, right? But if I didn't have people like that in my corner, when I see shit like there was on TikTok for ages, what was it, Tonga Alley or something?
No, I take that as well.
Bro, that was like popping to the point that I bought it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll give it a bash. I'll see what it's like.
Because it's on TikTok and people are talking about it.
Yeah. Whereas like, see from an aspect of like testosterone, this is like, I'm fucking plugging supplements now. I have tried so many different supplements just to like try shit out, see what it's like. I had Ollie, who was a really good friend of mine that I grew up. He was obsessed with supplements as well. So his input and Ham's input. I remember he texted me and he was like, whatever you do when you're buying supplements, when you go to buy something, do the opposite of what your brain tells you to do. Do not look at reviews and do not look at all this other shit. If you have a trusted source, take that trusted source and use that to buy, but don't dig deeper because there's contrasting information everywhere. And I think that's one of the things, like when it comes to products, there is the Tonga Alley side of things. The part that really struck a chord was that they really dialed in from an ICP perspective on like young guys lacking testosterone that wanted that extra boost, and there was so much marketing around it was fucking ridiculous that probably every young guy,
why wouldn't you buy it?
Yeah.
If it's proven to like, or they've got some scientific paper that boosts testosterone, that's what everyone wants, isn't it? But that's like, just shows you the power of market, and they've got their customer dialed in. Like, it's a no-brainer type of purchase, and that's probably why I bought as well. Because you see the hype about it, you see the videos, and as you said though, it's probably better getting first-hand experience from someone who's maybe taken the supplement rather than just looking at the reviews.
100%. And I think with the Facebook ads side of things, like from a development perspective, like when I first sat down with Gary, who was like the kind of mentor I had around that side of things, he was like, go and spend $1,000 on ads, and until your click-through rate is like above 1%, like don't text me. Like go and actually spend the money to like figure that component out.
You need to spend the money to figure out the data and what works and what doesn't work.
100%.
That's how it goes. Like for us, as I said, when we first started out, our level of ads was just nowhere near as good as it is now, just because we now understand like customer psychology, the way that people like interact with ads. Like as you were saying before, like with first-hand experience, it's probably better like looking at the comments within an ad rather than the reviews on the website. So if you've got an ad that's got like 1,000 likes and 500 comments, and all the comments have got like threads of people talking about the product, this is what I thought about, this is what I thought about it, that's probably better than the reviews on your website. Just because it's real, it's on the actual, like on the ad. That's something that we focus on as well, like creating an ad that's going to create engagement on it as well.
That's quite interesting actually, to be fair, because like the reviews on a website are obviously chosen by the brand owner or like whoever's pushing it, whereas the comments, they can delete the comments, but if you're seeing comments that are maybe raw, only been uploaded 30 minutes ago, there's threads in there, like the trust that it builds, knowing that it can't be influenced, quote unquote, like there's nothing that can be impacted. Something
that we also do is like, you could also go on or get like a friend or family to try and find your ad. So get their algorithm to like go and try and find your ad, like similar products, try and interact with them. And then if they do come across our ad, we'll get them to comment. But make a comment that's going to create like an engagement. So off the back of it, you're going to get a thread and more people are going to comment. It's going to reduce your CPMs on Facebook, and then you're going to get cheaper cost per acquisition on your customers as well. So that's something that we have a heavy focus on.
What are some of the things that they would comment to generate engagement?
Something probably negative. I don't have like a particular example. It'd just be more so like with a specific feature of the product that maybe not many people are talking about. That's going to create engagement with other people that are potentially going to buy or have even bought themselves.
So when you say negative, like what did you mean by that?
It's hard to say. I'm trying to think of like a very specific example that I've used, but maybe even something small as like delivery time or customer service. Like say that it maybe took longer than we expected to get it, but the customer service was absolutely excellent. this person helped me out with every single problem, or even if it arrived damaged, this product arrived damaged, but customer service sorted me out and I got a replacement within 2 days.
Yeah.
So again, that's going to create engagement. Maybe other people have had the same thing. They've had a good experience with customer service, and it kind of just creates that thread and engagement, so you could get cheaper ads essentially.
So why is there a combination of like negative then positive? Is that something that you've tested, or just like
We've not had like a proper like test or like scientific or like database. It's just more so we know for a fact the more comments you get on a Facebook ad, at the end of the day, Facebook and Instagram are content-based platforms. So if you feed Facebook the content and the creatives that's going to create engagement, keep people on their platform, then Facebook are going to push it more.
100%. Even when I think back to we've stopped running the ad now because it's like it actually generates.
I know what you're going to say.
The SpongeBob ads.
Yeah, I know you're going to say that.
It's like we've stopped running it now because the lead quality that comes through it is
very poor.
Yeah, it's just very much like people that don't necessarily have businesses yet, or they're in the kind of idea phase and they're going through that period of like they want to try something but they're too scared. And, but that ad itself, mate, like when I used to go on Young and Lazy's actual page, like I would have like there'd be like 20 to 30 story mentions like per day with that shit.
Really?
Of people sharing
it
on
to
their
their
story because it just was so relatable.
Yeah.
Like so relatable.
That's something that we're trying to do as well. We've got a new brand coming out, like custom product, custom branding, like all in-house stuff. That's going to be a supplement brand, and we've had like a heavy focus on making sure that it's like Instagrammable. I know this is something slightly different, but making sure that people want to share it to their story and creating a real brand behind it instead of just having some basic packaging. Make sure that people feel like a connection with it. So one that we've been seeing recently, like, I don't know if you've seen it, the creatine gummies, Overload. Like people like sharing that to their story, or like a mushroom coffee or something like that. If it's got really nice packaging, first thing you'll do is put it on your Instagram and tag them. So it creates that organic like content that you don't even have to pay for as well.
100%, mate. Because I think with the testing stuff as well, man, you just need to try. Like when I think about the SpongeBob meme, I literally came up with that in the gym. Where I was like, I got served an ad that was a random meme, and I was like, why don't I just come up with a few things?
Why don't you just try it?
Yeah.
Like we think that as well. Like on Facebook, on a brand new ad account, you get up to 250 spaces for ads. So you've not really got a limit on how many ads you can upload. So why not just test loads of stuff? Like before, I would always think, oh, this is not the perfect ad. It's not got the perfect cuts, transitions, effects. But now we just upload everything because you never know what Facebook's going to spend on. And in that case, you probably thought that's not going to spend. That's not going to do anything at all. But it turned out it performed one of the best. I remember just like having Andy. I wrote all these scripts. He shot all the ads. He edited them at the time. So he was kind of Victor. And I literally whipped up this meme on Canva while I was in the gym. Mate, £1.70 it started it, whereas the video ads were like 15 quid. It's insane.
I was like, fucking
like that's a big thing in like e-commerce now. Like if you go on your Instagram, most of the time you're going to be served ads that you know for a fact are an ad. It's content creators that they've paid for. The content it comes across like so scripted, not natural at all. Whereas now a lot of people are doing something called like ugly ads. So it's basically, it could just be like a product right there on the table. They'll take a picture of it, put some text on the top of it. Nothing too crazy, no effects or anything like that, and they sometimes perform really, really good. And with video ads as well, it would just be like product in action, some music behind it, a little bit of text here and there, and they perform actually better because it kind of just looks like a bit of content on their feed, like on their For You page or whatever, rather than like a really well put together video. As well as that, podcast clips, so a lot of supplement brands are now doing like things like this, podcast style ads, so it'll be like half and half, reaction based, comes across so natural, and you're not being sold to. They could inform you and educate you on the product without selling it. And that doesn't even have to be an ad that they buy from. That could be within your funnel of ads. So that could be top of funnel where they're educated, but now they get sold on the bottom of funnel ad, which could be a well produced piece of content that they buy from.
100%, mate, because it's also like I think that's something that people don't speak about enough from a retargeting perspective. Like I'll never forget when I first came across Sabri Subi and Sell Like Crazy. Like that book, he runs so many ads for that because that's his lead magnet. That's ultimately gets people into this kind of consultancy funnel. But like I'll never forget, I'd already bought the book, but I just checked out his Instagram. I started getting served ads around his book, and I'd watched the full ad because I wanted to take notes on it. And I got served an ad the following day of him being like, I know you watched my ad, you fucker, pretty much. Like, I know you've watched it, so why haven't you bought the book yet? And it was this, like, in my head, I thought, holy shit, like, someone that doesn't understand. So a consumer that doesn't understand ads, seeing that, like, it was just mental.
How does that even make sense? Like, they've been retargeted the perfect ad. And that's how you need to diversify your Facebook ad account. Something that we've been taking like a deep dive on our Facebook ad account, thinking what works, what doesn't work, but also diversifying the type of content you put out. It could just be like, as I said before, educational, bottom funnel where you're selling on emotion. There's so many different styles of ads you need to create because it's a funnel. You can't just think of we're trying to sell on this one ad. Because we were struggling with editing ads and they would all come out this like sort of the same. It would follow a same like hook, body, and then offer. Whereas now we go in more to like the ugly ads, just content that doesn't seem like an ad. I think it's important that you do diversify your ad account and put out lots of different pieces of content.
I love that, mate. Do you know a company who smashes their ads at the park? I don't know like how they actually do, but just from consuming them and being like they're actually shit hot. Simmer Eats.
They're very good.
There is a class.
Food meal prep company, isn't it?
Like, see, they were the first ones I seen doing the podcast style, because me and Nick send each other ads all the time, and I think he sent me one that was like podcast style of, I think one of the first ones they had was a guy being like, I just hit my first like 3-plate bench press, and you know how I done it? Was because I had this meal prep like
but you would have been hooked into that video because of that.
100%, bro. And the guy was so wham as well. I was like, fuck, like it just, because I seen Simmer Eats and I heard that hook, and my brain instantly was like, from a ads brain perspective, I thought like, how are they going to spin this into selling meal prep? And the way that he done it, it wasn't just as simple as what I said, but that was basically how he funneled it in terms of like, because my meals are on point, like I'm gaining size, I'm gaining strength, and it was just such a good angle that I was like, that was shit hot. And then the next few podcast ads I got was from, he got some females, so it was like big wham guy that's fucking huge, saying that it's going to help him from a bench press perspective, and then he had females that were like female athletes as well, and I just thought like, they're on it, man. It's
also convenience as well in terms of like meal prep and that. I think health and fitness space is getting bigger and bigger all the time. Like the alcohol, going out drinking culture is becoming less and less, and people are actually wanting to improve their life, make more money, get stronger in the gym, be fit and healthier. So I think in terms of that being like a niche, and that's a big one that we focus on, and that's why we're going into like the supplement space as well. I think it's an absolute crazy market with huge LTV, people that actually have like a real vested interest in it as well. So that's, as I said, that's what we're focused on for the future.
100%, mate. I think it's something that like, because when I think about like, for me, like if I didn't have Bex like chefing up food for me,
be a nightmare.
Mate,
you want to work.
100%. Because even when I didn't stay with Bex, like my biggest problem is I don't gain size. Like, I'll hit the gym, I'll get really strong, but you look at me and you're like, does he even hit the gym? Like it'll be not even necessarily a sleeper build or anything of that nature. It's just more like I would be benching or deadlifting. I remember when I was 19, 20, the heaviest I ever got to, I'll never forget looking at the scale, was 80 kilograms. 80. Wow. Whereas like even just now, like I'm stuck again at like 72, 73.
And it's just all down to food.
It's just food, bro.
Food literally. Is like probably even not more important, but it's like it takes up a large portion if you're like want to get in shape. Like that's the biggest factor. It's the food you eat. But if you want to be like an entrepreneur who wants to push forward, sometimes you might forget to eat. You just want to keep working. So having that convenience is something like meal prep, or someone who can give you high quality meals is a cheat code. Because if you fuel yourself in the wrong way, you're going to make worse decisions. And I've found that a lot of times where I'm like just drinking coffee. Then I get like irritable and I'm not making the best decisions, falling out with people and stuff like that. It's not a good path to go down, I don't think. So having that like clarity of mind, eating good and sticking to that has been a huge factor for me.
I think food wise, man, like that always came to me down to the gaming side of things, where like if I think it stemmed from, so the first ever event I went to when I was 14, I didn't have any routine or rituals for events or like competing. I was just whatever. I was just at home, which at home I was a 14-year-old kid, so I just ate whatever my mum made dinner. That was literally it, and lunch. So when I actually got to the event, just before the event, I was like, I'm starving, but I'm also like a bit nervous. So I had like, I couldn't eat in the morning. I literally felt like physically sick at the thought process of it, because I was young and I was about to play at my first event. First game I had, my hands were shaking because I hadn't consumed anything, any sort of
sugar in your blood.
No sugar at all, mate. And then like midday, so after we played our first couple of games, I was like, I need to get food in me. And I made the mistake of getting a Subway where it's just bread,
carbs,
just bread.
You're after.
I was a zombie, mate. And I think that's where it was, that event that then kind of kicked in a kind of ritual around food, but then also like when I started, a lot of our tournaments in the gaming side of things were on a Sunday.
Yep.
So if I went out on a Friday or a Saturday, like you may as well write me off,
You're
mate.
done.
Like I'm just not. Even if I go out on Friday, I'm hungover Saturday,
Yep.
and then Sunday I'm fine. I'm still brain foggy, and
Yep.
I'm still like,
You're not there.
nah, I'm like
Yep.
half of a man. So
That's been a big thing for me. Is like when I was like 18, 19, 20, I didn't have any business. I was at uni. I was part-time job. Going out drinking was like probably the only thing that I ever done.
Yeah.
But I always had at the back of the mind that I wanted more.
Yeah.
But it's like what we were talking about before, like getting into like a business and taking that jump is the hardest one.
Yep.
It's like taking that first step is so difficult. You have everything going against you. People telling you it's not going to work. You try new things, it's not going to work out.
Yep.
It's so difficult to get over that hurdle. But when I started to like go out less and have that first bit of success, a bit that thing in my mind where might actually be possible, completely changed the game for me. So avoiding alcohol as much as possible. So many people say it, like just avoid alcohol. You could obviously build huge businesses and drink alcohol, but I think for me it's been a total game changer, and got me to that next level.
Yeah, I was the exact same, bro. I think like the alcohol side of things, like even from like a food perspective, like anyone I ever work with, like Lawrence and the Immortals, like Lawrence is someone that when it comes to food, man, he is so anal about not consuming anything that's going to make him feel sluggish or shit. And I think like when you start to look at those 1% inputs,
it makes the biggest difference in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I was going to ask, like you kind of touched on it there, but like when you were facing the kind of adversity around starting and coming off the kind of different path, like how did you overcome it?
Well, going back to when I was younger, like even imagining myself now sitting at a podcast would be like no chance. I was always somebody like quite anxious, wouldn't put myself out there. I would be very like enclosed, not try anything. So it's taken quite a while to like get to where I am today. Like even when I first started my businesses, I didn't have that confidence, that conviction to actually make that first step. But it's just what everyone says, is as long as you take action, but you realise that you're probably going to fail. It's going to happen. You're going to run into stuff. Even when things are going well, we always joke about like something's shit's going to happen soon. Like there's always going to be something that pops up, like a bank account gets frozen or ad account goes down, somebody's copying your product. Like you just need to go into the frame of mind that stuff's going to go wrong. Yeah. And once I realised that, the growth's just been exponential from there. And now if any problem does come up, and they do come up all the time, we're just chill about it because we know that this is like a learning process. And we could take this information to move forward. And that's pretty much what all happened in 2024. Like we had so many different issues that came up, but now going into 2025, we just have the frame of mind that there's going to be so much shit that pops up, but we're going to be able to deal with it and then move on from there. Yeah,
I love that, mate. Because I think when we think of failure, a lot of times it's met with shame.
Yeah.
Like it's met with judgment. It's met with
what are people going to say?
Yeah, what is everyone going to think? And I had a good conversation with Phil Graham recently about it, and it was one of the things he said was surrender to the expectations of your business.
Yep.
And I was like, he then went on to explain about my head. As soon as he said it, I was like, what is he meaning by that? And he was like, surrender to this expectation that like everything's going to be sweet, that you're going to make all this dough, that you're going to fucking like be absolutely caked, and instead like truly sit with the fact that you have the purest of intentions.
Yep.
You will do anything for anyone. You want to deliver value. You want to build an incredible reputation. You want to have mass impact. Those are the things to focus on, as opposed to the expectation of all the stuff that you're going to gain off the back of it. And I think that kind of surrendering piece in terms of, because that's the problem, right? When you start to fail, your expectations start to drop.
Yep.
So you then start to surrender to, you start to get them. You start to get submerged in this kind of, fuck, am I going to fucking lose everything? Is everything going down?
It's done.
Like, what's everyone going to think of me?
Yep.
And it's like, that's all based on the expectations you've got of fucking having the flip side of it, the duality.
You think you're already at the top, whereas if you just focus on the day-to-day stuff you could do, and realise, put that stuff aside and focus on just the inputs you could put in every day.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Because I think as well, like I chat to like Gino, who I had on the podcast, first ever in-person episode.
Yep.
He plays down in Swansea, plays football down in Swansea, and I remember chatting to him even just recently, and he was like, I think the football game, mate, is something that's rife with people just fucking people over all the time, like 1 minute you're the fucking best one on the planet,
Fans on your
next minute,
back.
yeah.
Don't even treat them as like humans at times.
Nah,
like
bro.
they do not give a fuck about that. They just want to see their team win, and then if you have to go down with the ship, they don't care.
Yeah, no, they don't give a fuck, mate. And I remember chatting to him about just naturally in business, like I think during the time we were going down a bit of a downturn, and he was like, never forget that the one thing you have that puts you above everyone else is the fact that you genuinely care. He was like, the reason why we are such close mates is because we are both aligned from that perspective. And he was like, I've been in also the football game, which meant that I came into money like when I was quite a young age. The amount of messages, he was like, I get 3-4 messages a day from brands wanting fucking opportunities and all this shit, and all they care about is the fact that I'm on a fucking football pitch and they want my money. And like the one difference you have amongst everyone else is that you genuinely give a fuck, and that's why we are such good mates. And I think that linked into what Phil said when he was like, surrender to all these expectations of what you think the business is going to do for you, and just sit in the fact that you genuinely give a fuck about other people, and that is what is going to deliver results, have mass impact, and build the business that you actually want. Yeah.
So that kind of ties into what I'm doing just now. Is like, if I'm doing something, like if I'm like, for example, coaching someone or doing a paid call or anything like that, just I always want to help people out. I don't just do it. Obviously, I want to make money, but off the back of that, I don't want to just take people's money and not care about them, put them to a side. So it's like you said, just having clear intentions on what you want from your life, and having a big focus on that. Yeah,
I think that's something that people overcomplicate quite often. Like the worry maybe about, I done a training on this, which was like around like creating an offer, and it was like so many people get so trapped in the worry of like creating such a specific offer that gets a really big result for their clients, and they promise it in the front end. And I think what they worry about is that they offer it to everyone, and then everyone that puts their hand up, they get sold to. If someone puts their hand up to an offer and you sit down, you have a sales call with them, and you identify that you can't help them, don't present the fuck like.
Don't take their money.
Yeah, literally, just don't take their money. Whereas
it works out bad for you both, because you can't get them the result, and then they're going to feel like, oh, I paid this money and didn't get the result I wanted.
Yeah. Which ultimately just puts you, like you said, reputation is the one thing. So many people speak about it, but it's the one thing that compounds over time in a positive or negative manner. Like eventually it bites you in the arse somehow, and that's one thing that I've always just in the back of my mind, where it's like just always do good. Like always do good. And ultimately, like I trust my values to know that when I'm doing good, and bro, everyone fucks up, but in that moment I believe that I'm always doing good.
Reputation's the most important thing. As soon as you make one slip up, one mistake, then that's your reputation done for pretty much forever, and it's difficult to come back from that, I would say. Yeah,
for sure, bro. Obviously, one of the things you touched on, which we haven't necessarily touched on yet, obviously you've got all these different brands that you're running, you've got a kind of new venture on the horizon, but you're also what basically kind of fell into basically teaching others, because you started creating content, you were doing day in the lives, and you just started getting bombarded with messages, which has naturally kind of created this opportunity for you to educate and help other people. So how's that been?
It's been, if I look back again to when I was younger, I did start, like I would put out YouTube videos, but it was that thing again, I was so worried about what other people were going to say that I didn't continue with it. So now I've just, at the start of this year, I said to myself, I'm going to have a huge focus on content, not just from the perspective of making money, but I quite like helping people out and putting that stuff out on Twitter, the valuable stuff that they take, and I get so many messages, people saying like, your YouTube and your Twitter's helped me so much, I've managed to improve my store, I've managed to get more sales, more money. That's such a great feeling for me, and off the back of that, getting people wanting to work with me, reaching out saying like, can you teach me, all that sort of stuff, it's a good feeling in terms of I could create another stream of income off the back of that, but I could help them out as well. I think there's such a bad stigma around like mentoring and coaching, but if you're serious and you want to be in the game of business long term, I think if you spend money on investing in yourself, it's so beneficial. You could skip so much mistakes. Like I'm pretty much all self-taught in terms of like Ecom and all that sort of stuff. But if I look back, if I maybe invested in someone earlier on, I could have skipped out on all the mistakes, all the questions that I had. I could have skipped out on all of that. So for me, posting content on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, it's quite fulfilling for me. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy people messaging me and saying that they've got help from it. So big focus for that in this year.
How have you, like, because when we look at the timeline, you done your first ad in like December 2023. like how, because you're saying that you could have gone faster, but to me you've gone so fucking fast.
Yeah.
And it's also, because I know we speak quite often about the kind of like imposter syndrome piece and like whether or not you, all of us at different points feel qualified to give the advice that we do or hit the people that we help. And I think for yourself, you've really fast tracked it. And I think I say this to anyone, I even said it to my little sister a good couple of times too, where it's like, start a business on the things that people are asking you for anyways.
Yeah.
And you're essentially getting to a stage where people are just asking you for this shit. You've got over 1,000 people in a free fucking group that you're adding value to. You've created a waiting list for a paid group that already has, I mean, as of just now, like what, 60, 70? It's going to have 100 plus probably by like the end of this week. You only launched it a fucking few days ago. It's like all these things point towards the fact that, one, you're already providing value, and as a result, people are willing to pay. And you've made it happen in literally like a couple of years.
But if I even look back, I think I could have done it sooner. But at the same time, maybe it was all the years developing as a person, going through different things, testing different stuff out, that made it right now. Because at the start of this year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to put everything into it this year. Content, business, I'm going for it all in. And I set a goal, post 5 times a day on Twitter, post 3-4 YouTube videos a week. And then if I look at the data off the back of that, it's worked out perfectly. I've managed to get up to nearly 6,000 on Twitter, 1,000 on YouTube, which might seem small, but the people who do engage with my content are loyal. They value it, and like I go on calls with people all the time and they say, I could tell from the value you're putting out, the YouTube videos you're putting out, that you're authentic. You're not just doing it for the money like most other people would do. They just want to take your money and they just don't give a fuck about you, basically. So hearing that from people saying that they could sense the energy, they could sense that I'm authentic is a great feeling for me, and I hope to continue that for the rest of this year and get even better, because I still think that I'm nowhere near where I should be at the age that I'm 24. I feel like I could be further ahead, if that makes sense. Yeah,
100%, mate. I think the authenticity piece is super interesting, because I think that's the one thing that people struggle to do when they're on camera. They struggle to truly come across themselves. I've even seen it for me, like I'll hop on a story where it's so natural and I'll just pull up the camera. And even with someone that, like, I done full-time streaming for fucking 2.5 years, so I was on a camera.
Yeah, the experience kind of doing it.
For like fucking 10 hours a day. But even still now, like when Victor comes over and he's setting up the camera and we're just about to do a shoot, it's like that first draft that I do of a video, I'm like, I'm a fucking robot. Like,
it doesn't sound right at all.
No, I'm like, shut the fuck up.
But to most other people, they don't notice that. Like I make a YouTube video, I'll plan out what I'm going to do, edit it, and I'm like, who the fuck's going to listen to this? Like, genuinely, I'm like, this is terrible. But when I put it out and then people comment and say they like it, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong then. So that's when I do stuff now, I just post. I don't have too much thought behind it, whereas maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago I would have thought myself into not doing it, if that makes sense. Like, now I'm just like, you know what, if somebody doesn't like it, if I doesn't get a certain amount of likes or whatever, who cares? It'll be done within a week. It will be off the feed. No one's going to see it. So pushing past that like limiting mindset that you don't have the value was like eye-opening to me. Like, I was on a call with somebody like last week, 7-figure Amazon owner, has a brand. He's paying me for a call, which was crazy. I'm like, why does this guy want to talk to me? But he's coming off the back of the call thinking that was valuable. I want to book in again. So that kind of confirmed with me, like, maybe you do have the knowledge and you need to get over that limiting belief.
Where do you think the limiting belief stems from?
I don't know, maybe going back to when I was younger, playing football when I was younger, like playing like pro youth and all that sort of stuff. I was like a quiet guy, played for like Wraith Rovers and pro youth level, playing against like loads of good teams, but getting beat all the time, constantly like being in my shell, not talking to people. Like, I think that's where it kind of stemmed from, not having that belief in myself. And then it kind of grew from there, being at school, anxious person, not putting myself out there, having no belief. But that took me till I was like 22, 23 to get over that hurdle and realise that I just need to have that belief in myself and not think too much. But overcoming that has been probably the best thing that's happened to me.
When did the initial shift happen for you on
that? When I started doing my business, that started taking off, when I was getting confirmation that I can put the things that I know into practice and make some money from it. I think you naturally get that belief. Whereas, as we were saying before, when you're first starting out, you have no proof that you have the ability to make money online.
Yeah.
You have no proof in business, so you don't have any confidence in yourself, both personally and business-wise. So I think when you start getting results coming in the door, you put in the work, and then you see results of it a few months down the line, the momentum starts to build, and then it's just like exponential from there. Like, as soon as you build the momentum, you can't let that drop, because if it does drop, you're back to square one.
Yeah, no, I love that, mate. I love it. I think one of the things you just mentioned earlier on about the kind of content piece, like the same way we look at ads, like we let the market dictate what ads are going to perform, what videos are going to perform, and I think as well, one of the things I liked about what you said is like it's off the feed within a week. Funny enough, the thought process I have is that when I finally do blow up, quote unquote, they're going to have a bank of content to watch.
Yeah.
And it's like this kind of
backlog.
Yeah, man, because I look at like the podcast episodes, like initially on YouTube and probably across Spotify, it's like 100 to like 200 listeners in the first like week, slash views or whatever it is. But there's episodes now that are on 1,000 plus views. Every episode's kind of like consistently just rises as time goes on. And I think that's something as well, mate, where you can really get caught up in that shit. Because even for myself, like we start doing talking to camera content, some like trainings going out there. And it's like, if I was just focused on the views, we wouldn't be doing them anymore.
You wouldn't post.
Nah.
You have to start with nothing.
Yeah.
I go back on my YouTube, like 20 views, 30 views. But I had to go through all that to get to like where I am now.
Yeah.
You need to go through all the shit where you're doing all the work for no results.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've found. Like, every single thing that I've done has started off being absolute shit. There's no progress. But I look 6 months back, I'm like, I'm so glad I started that, because look where it is now. But then if I keep going, look where's it going to be in 1, 2, 3 years. So as long as you build up that momentum, that consistency with whatever it is you do, whether it's be like gym, fitness, business wise, as long as you stick to it, as easy as that may sound, it's the way that you progress.
Yeah. Which one of the things I'm curious about, mate, like what's your day-to-day routine look like? Like, what does that actually look like?
It doesn't have like too much structure. Like, most of the time we're just in the office all day, every day. There's nothing that really goes on. We don't do anything outside that. So I'll usually wake up, train in the morning around 8 a.m, 9 a.m, go to the gym, get that over and done with. I think that's a big thing for me. Training early, set myself up for the day, clear my mind, and then I'll go into the office around 9 a.m, stay there till like 6 or 7, come home, that's it. There's nothing too exciting going on, but I realise that this is the stage in life that I'm at, where I need to put in these hours, where it's maybe not as glamorous as I want it to be. Yeah. But I need to put these hours in when I'm like quote unquote young, so that when I'm like 30s, 40s, I've set myself up because I've done all that shit in my early 20s. Yeah. But you need to enjoy it as well at the same time. Yeah. I think there's such like a hustle culture that's going on right now, where you have to work 18 hours a day. You can't do anything enjoyable. You can't go out for food. You can't do anything. But I think you need to enjoy the process as well, because in 10, 20 years time, I'm going to look back and be like, that was the best times. Yeah. When me and my business partner are just sitting in the office, having a laugh, but getting work done at the same time. Yeah. I love that, mate. What was see from an office perspective, so day-to-day routine? Yep. I remember chatting to Harry, and I'm going to be getting him on by the end of this year. Yeah, he wants to have this crazy big year so that he's got this mental number to flash on the pod, which, I've got nothing to argue about that, mate. He's going to crush it this year. But I remember asking him, I was like, what does your day-to-day look like? And he was like, I'll literally get up and I'll look at ads, I'll look at Hotjar for a couple of hours, and then I'll just create new ad creators for like 2 to 4 hours. That's our day as well. Yeah. Speak to the editor. Have you made new ads? Okay, we'll upload them. What are we going to do today? Make more ads. That's the only thing you could really focus on, because we're waiting for our supplement to come in place, like a big bulk order. It's taken so much time. We started that process back in August last year. Still not got the product yet. We won't get that till like May or June. So our plan for maybe the next 6-12 months is we've got 2 dropshipping stores that are pretty good, at a good level. Grow them as much as possible, but we know they've not got, we can't sell them really. We can't sell them for a big multiple, because it's a product that everyone can get. So we're hopefully going to pass that on to team members that we train, so that it's like a machine that kind of runs itself, and then slowly transition over to the supplement brand that's going to have that long-term play, where we're going to be running that in 5 to 10 years down the line, and we could potentially sell that for 8 figures ideally. I think within the first couple of years of running that, we could take that to 7-8 figures, no problem. Love that, mate. So that's the plan for us. Move away from being in the business so much. I know this is something you talk about, working in the business rather than on the business.
Yeah.
So right now we're still like going in and not doing emails, but like managing our VA, make sure our editor does the creatives for the week. But we're still making a lot of the ads. We're still doing a lot of running of the business. But that doesn't take too much when you get to a certain level. Yeah. So the next step for us is removing ourselves, getting people in place that they could just run that store and that we don't need to worry about it so much, and put all of our eggs into the supplement brand, which is going to take us to 7-8 figures.
Yeah. When you think about, so two things, what are the key factors you believe with scaling the supplement brand to like a 8-figure exit, for example?
I think you need to have a product that's in an evergreen market that people are buying every single month, subscription based. So for us, we are going to be selling a product that's obviously on subscription every 30 days. And the benefit of that is you're using Facebook's ad platform the most efficient way, because you could even go negative on your first purchase. But if you know your LTV is like 3-4 months, you can get away with that. And that's using Facebook's platform better, because what we do right now is we need to be first order profitable or it's done. Yeah. Because we're selling products that don't have like follow-up products on the back end. There's not really anything they would buy alongside this main product. Yeah. So you need to be first order profitable or it doesn't make sense. Whereas with a supplement brand, you could go negative on first purchase, but if you've got the data that's 3-4 months they're going to subscribe for at least, you're going to be much more profitable. It's something that's sellable because you're selling a product that's custom formula. You've got a brand behind it, brand identity. And it's just a case of managing cash. That's going to be one of the biggest things for us, managing cash. Like, how much stock have we got for the next 3 months? Because you need to think of people who buy today are going to be subscribed for 2-3 months down the line. So we need to have the cash in place to buy new stock. Yeah. But that new stock's going to take 3 months to come in. So we're confident that we're good enough at making ads. The next step for us is learning how to retain customers, how to build out a proper team with staff, and A players that are going to be able to push this business to 7 figures per year. But more than confident that we'll be able to do that within at least the first 2 years easily.
Love that, mate. What do you think are some of the things like leadership wise you're going to have to develop?
I think a lot of things, like right now all of our staff are like obviously freelance, sort of hybrid. They're not full-time employees, so there's not a lot of leadership that's being done just now. It's mainly just weekly check-ins, weekly calls, which is fine. But if you want to build a real brand, we can't be in the business running the ads, doing all the emails, doing all that sort of stuff. Or who's going to buy that? If they buy the business and we get removed from it, then that's not a business really. It's more of a hustle. It's like trying to make as much money as possible. So from a leadership standpoint, that's my next step in this journey. I think obviously I've not got those qualities yet. I believe that I will be a good leader, but I don't know until I've tried it. So that will be the next step in the journey, I think.
Love that, mate. Honestly, Trips, anyone that wants to obsess over leadership and building an incredible team, like Layla Hormozi's podcast, man, like Build, it is the best podcast for like building a culture that is fucking incredible, where your employees, your team members just love to be a part of it. So yeah, like plugging on our podcast, like Layla's shit is the bomb, man.
The first thing that we've done in terms of employees, like I've not watched that podcast, but even just you trying to incentivize them to work for your business, to grow your business. Because most employees are they're there for the pay, obviously, like they're just wanting the salary. But if you create a culture where you're incentivized for creating good work, so for example right now we've got bonus structures in place for editors or VAs. If they could get good reviews, we give them extra money for it. Most people, they just want extra money. So if you can incentivize for that and build for your company, I think that's the way that you get the most out of your employees. Yeah,
100%. Obviously, I've been fortunate, like hiring a couple of friends that they do care about the business so fucking much that, you know, it's I've kind of struggled to relate a lot of times to people bringing on team members, and it's like they don't give a fuck what about the business
because they've not got a personal connection with you that maybe your friends do.
Yeah,
they care about it more naturally because they've known you for a long time.
Yeah,
so it's trying to find that middle ground with people that are not your friends that you're wanting to employ.
Yeah. And
find that balance so that they do care about your business.
Yeah, because ultimately, like we've spoke about it in different components. Like you have the values piece, you have the skills piece, and then you have the experience piece when it comes to team members. And you know, I took the leap on two individuals that have the values and skills wise, they already had the kind of natural skills. They just needed to gain that experience. And I think that's ultimately, like, when I'm looking at, let's say, they're all like someone like Lawrence, for example, the new brand that he started, like, he's instantly went to hiring A players. Like, and he's paying the dough for them.
You need
like,
to.
and it's just fully required. And when it comes to A players, I mean, players that have the skills, the experience, and the values that can come in and have an instant impact and actually change how you do things because they understand it so fucking well. And I think that's something that people don't factor into a lot of times, especially when it comes to like hiring friends. Like Jack and Reese are fucking incredible and will continue to be incredible, but they've been continually upskilled throughout the whole process. And ultimately, if I didn't invest that time, like, the boys wouldn't have progressed anywhere near as quick, without a doubt.
So you've had to hire your friends that you've had to train, but when you're hiring people that are not your friends, you need to pay the premium to get the people that are going to progress your business. I think we've spoke about this before. If you hire people maybe on the cheap, you're going to be in a constant cycle of maybe even resenting the people because they're not producing the results you want. But that could be down to yourself because you've not led them in the way to get the results you want. You need to teach these people, you need to show them the way that you want things done, but also letting them have their freedom as well. I think having their own like intuition, and not getting so annoyed at them if they make maybe the wrong decision. Because if they don't work out, that's probably your own fault. You've either hired the wrong person or you've not gave them the skills to work with you correctly. I
think like the extreme ownership piece is huge. I think also, like, I had this conversation with Nick last week when we had the kind of like strategy day together. Like, I've been fortunate where I understand Jack and Reese so fucking well, and I've got to understand Andy so fucking well that I know what motivates them. I know how to bring out the best in them. I know how to navigate them, and I think ultimately that's something that people don't go deep enough from a team perspective to actually understand what truly motivates them.
What gets them going?
Yeah, because we all think it's all money, but it's not, man. Like,
it might not always be money. Yeah, I forgot to say that. They might not be money motivated. You need to understand what gets them going.
Like, one of the examples, shout out the Prime Property boys. I had Lewis and John on at one point. They when we went for dinner, they spoke about one of their team members that helped them with content. I remember chatting to him, and we were just speaking about like motivating team members, etc. And he was like, honestly, like I can't remember what his name was, but he was like, the boy that does our content literally is so fucking shit hot, it's ridiculous. And I was literally like, how can we reward him? How can we get him different things? Or like, what can we pay him? And ultimately, like, all he cares about is getting new gadgets that he can take home and do a YouTube unboxing and just like do a YouTube video around it. And it's like, that is like so incredible to understand your team in a way that you can get to that really intricate details of what actually motivates them.
You need to care about them as well. Like, you need to understand like what's going on in their life, what gets them going. I think we've had a conversation about this before. You need to understand, like, just have more, invest more into them, basically. Figure out what's going on in their life so that you can have that relatability with them, that natural conversation with them. So it's not more so just like, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's more, you can be more open with them, I'd say.
100%. Because also as well, when you get clear on what motivates, so if I look at like Reese, for example, Reese values time freedom. Like, that's what he wants to work towards. So when we are working from a coaching perspective to just continue to get him to a stage where his ROI on coaching calls is so insane that all he needs to do is take 10 to 15 a week to have like a 5x on his salary or whatever. Like, ultimately that then becomes what we work towards, as opposed to me turning and saying to Reese, mate, fucking draft you up to head coach and you're going to run the fucking full thing. Like,
he's not really bothered about that.
No, he doesn't want to. It's not what he wants ultimately. Whereas if you look at like Jack, for example, Jack's like primary goal is wanting to get to a stage where he's partner in the company, like huge. He's already a huge part of it, but yeah, he wants to get to that stage. So as a result, the motivation as well from a leadership perspective, understanding like when to continue to push as well for someone to do more and demand more from themselves. I think that's a huge component.
Do you need to be careful with that in terms of like how much you push somebody? Like, is it, you need to be?
It's hard to. It's hard, like,
because there's so many different types of people, right?
I think as well, like, you never really know. Like, even as an example, it's kind of like Sir Alex Ferguson used to speak a lot about it, like man management. Like, everyone literally is different, like so fucking different. So it's like with Andy, like similar to Reese, doesn't give a fuck about money. Like, will drive a Suzuki Swift till the end of his time. Like, does not care.
Don't give a fuck.
Nah. And with him, it's like you know, we can sit and be like, let's pay ourselves more, let's draft in more cash, let's really push, and it's like he's not arsed about that, man.
No.
Which like that is, it's been one of the most difficult things for me as well, because like naturally you just realise that everyone isn't wired the same way you are as well, so you need to get crafty, and that's where, like you said, you need to get to know someone on a really deep level to understand how to bring out the best in them.
That's, like, as I said, me and my business partner are slightly different in terms of the way that we think on certain things, but I think that's quite a good thing as well. You could get different perspectives. Like, sometimes I could be stubborn in the decisions that I want to make. Like, I think it's the right way, and it can't be done any other way. But once you open up yourself to the idea that there's other ways of doing things, and becoming less stubborn, I'd say, is a big thing. Yeah,
because I think that's something that most partnerships, mate, they end the same old way. It's just bad blood, conflict, and it's one thing that me and Andy have always said, that we'll be an anomaly from that perspective, where we'll end, whenever we do decide to end terms, it will end on good terms. Like, as
long as you're clear with what you both want. I think we've spoken about this before. Be clear, be open, communicate with them, figure out what they want, what you want, and if you have that clarity and you put it all out on the table, then there shouldn't be any issues. That's the way that I see it.
Yeah, I think the over communication piece, that was one of the first components I think I'd really absorbed from Lawrence. Like, over communicating, not only from a business perspective, like even with Bex, I've spoken about it a good couple of times in here. Like, we do a relationship mastermind on like a weekly basis to keep us on the same page, and a big part of that is just over communicating. So part of that relationship mastermind is me firing over my schedule, and then even now, because Bex's schedule changes every day, every evening she'll text me her schedule, like literally to a T of when she's going to be home, if I would need to make my own lunch or make my own dinner, what time she's going to be back and forth. Like, it's literally just keeps us on the same page. And I think the over communication piece, like with team members especially, man, is so,
because you could keep so much in, you could bottle it up, but it's going to get to a point where it's too much, and you're just going to get so frustrated that you're going to like flip out and get angry at somebody for no reason. So that's something that I've worked on over the past like 6 to 12 months. I think just being open with team members who you work with, being clear on the vision, the goals for all businesses, is key. Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what's a fucking banging book, you know, on leadership? Like, from the perspective of the way we're looking at it just now, 12.5 by Gary Vee. Don't know if you ever read that book, mate. Like,
every time you've got my book, I've maybe got halfway through and put it down. I'm so bad for that, by the way. Buy a book and then don't read it.
Don't say that, bro. Feel like I send you shit books. Like 12.5. That's a book that, interesting enough, we bought it because they had like a NFT. That was like the first time I actually made some like decent money. Like, for every 12 books you bought, you got sent an NFT. So I think Andy bought 36, so did I.
36.
Yeah, 36 each, and what we done was we just gave them to clients. So it was like, we literally just gift them to clients. So I think every client at the time in YNL got a 12.5 book. We still had plenty left over at that point, because I don't even think we were that big. But yeah, it was the reason I love that book, mate, is because Gary Vee's like way on leading is very much probably similar to Layla Hormozzi's, to be fair, but also throughout the whole book it's like maybe 70 pages of education, and then all of it's just real case scenarios. So it's like your team member fails executing on a massive project that costs the business X amount in cash. Like, how would you handle it? And then you'll brew on it, and then it'll give you how Gary would handle it. And it's fucking class. So from an actual practical sense, you're getting 70% of the education in regards to 12.5 core values or core emotions that he believes is the biggest point of leverage in business and leadership. And then the other 170 odd pages is just examples.
Because most of the time when the decisions come up, if you're new to business, you've not dealt with people before. You don't know how to deal with these things. But would you say that dealing them with in the way that you think's best is the best way to go about, because you learn from that? Or should you like skip out on that and read up on leadership? How is your approach to that? Or do you just take bits and pieces from different people and have your own approach?
I think like having a role model that you ultimately align with, to then be able to almost like bounce yourself off of, because ultimately Layla Hormozzi spoke a lot about this. Like, she was someone that like would constantly confide in other mentors and people, when in reality most of the time it was aligned with her own intuition anyways. So as soon as she started trusting her own intuition, she started to make huge fucking
better decisions.
She also started to make like huge jumps in growth as well. And I think that's something that as you gain more time in business, you gain much more confidence and ability to trust your own intuition as well. And I think that's something that we're speaking earlier on, having the pure intentions, like keeping that at the forefront. Like, I know that for me, like, I used to be someone that there's a few components. We have a kind of running joke, like Jack and Bex and Reese, like, they all know this, so does Andy. Like, there's different components of John, which is like, John gets bored at times when either he's tired, hungry, or what's the other one that we always joke about? Tired, hungry, can't remember the last one. But anyways, when I get bored, I'll just start making funky noises, jokes, take the piss, anything to just get a bit of something going, right? And it could be the most, like, driving home from Leeds, I've got a podcast on, I'll just start making random noises, taking the piss, right? And it's like, John's bored. Like, that's literally what's happening. Now, on the kind of like flip side of that, when we're looking at like, why was I even talking about that? What was I even fucking running through? Lost my train of thought thinking about
Layla
Hormozy,
leadership.
Intuition, leadership. Fuck, bro. Oh, man. I'm sure it'll come back to me at some point. But anyways, on the kind of like leadership piece, the intuition piece, like, it's fucking huge. Because if you're, how would I summarize it? If you're constantly bouncing off other people, you just become them.
Yep.
Anyways, and I know they might be incredible leaders, but ultimately, I remember speaking to my therapist about it as well. He was like, do you want to just be a doppelganger of Phil Graham?
Yep, you're not making your own decisions because you're just basing everything off them.
Yeah.
Which, that was the point I was getting at. How do you, like, if you just structure it off every single decision they've made, you're not really learning, you're just copying what they've done. Which it could work out fine, but I think when you get in a different situation that maybe you don't have the learning of, you don't know what to do. So I think creating your own like style of leadership and understanding how people operate, how they work, how to get them going is the best way. Yeah,
because I think as well, like, the intuition piece is something that I think for huge decisions, there is definitely components of consulting that you probably want input on. But I put this out on a piece of content, it's like, it gets to a point where you rely so heavily on the other person that they become the filter for fucking every big decision, that ultimately you never learn from, and you waste time with the bouncing back and forth. That when you just go out and do it yourself, you get feedback anyways. And I think there's probably components of it. That's what I was going to say. So with the components of me being bored, there's also components of where I get a bit fiery. And when I get fiery, it's usually when I've got a headache or I'm lacking sleep. And both of those two things are probably being hangry as well at times. If Bex was for listening to this. I'll get a bit fiery, which basically just means that, like, I'll have a lack of a filter. So, for example, if someone was to, I don't know, do something that maybe I disagree with, when I'm just normal John, which is 90% of the time, it's like I take it, put it through the funnel of John, think about it, and then respond. And I can do that in a really short time frame in a conversation, or if a message comes through, I can go away and come back. Like, even for like my mum, for example, with her being in the debt collection side of things, dealing with court mediations and all that shit, some of the shit she has to deal with, she has like a 10-second rule. She walks away from her desk, comes back,
then have a think about it, then make the decision.
And I think when it comes to like that kind of like fiery piece from a leadership perspective, is like understanding as well, from an over communication standpoint, that the team know how I operate as well. So if I hop on and I say to the boys, look, man, I've got a bit of a headache today, like, which used to be fucking rife, not really a thing anymore, to be fair, but that was something I used to communicate to Andy quite often, because if I had a headache and maybe a couple of things were brewing up, or we had a disagreement, it's almost like it's just like a short fuse. Like, the fuse is shorter, and I would just like kind of like jump at it, and then afterwards I'd be like, what the fuck am I fucking doing, man?
It happens all the time. It happens, like, especially when you're working with the same people every single day. Like, don't get me wrong, we work together, we get on, but there's certain times we'll just get pissed off for no reason, and then I'll go away for half an hour, get something, you get a coffee, and then we're fine again. But I think if we're open about it, and you say to the people that you're working with, especially like partners in business, just be open with, if you're dealing with someone or you're getting pissed off, say why, and then most times they're going to understand that as well, and then you could kind of move on from it quicker. Because if you, like you said, if you get fiery and you say something that maybe you didn't mean, they're going to get then pissed off, then they're going to get pissed off at you, and it creates like a vicious circle of like bad decisions that could happen. You're going to get pissed off with the person you work with, which you don't want. You're in it together, you're in together in business to build something big. So being open with them is key. I think like continuing to work on it as well. So it's like, if I just say, I'm fiery when I get a headache,
Like, bro,
That's not an
fucking
excuse.
bullshit.
Yeah, that's not an
it's
excuse.
just-
Yeah,
I'm just like abdicating the
all
solution.
blame is off John.
Aye, all blame's off. If I've got a headache today, I can say whatever
Say
I
whatever.
fucking want
Exactly.
to you. So it's like over communicating probably deficits, but in a way that you're also working on them as well is a huge component where it's like I've continued, even from a therapist perspective, getting to the root of where that actually stems from. And also maybe from like a childhood perspective, like who would have been the role model that I would have seen, that how did I even absorb that?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing as well, where it's like if I reflect on like me and Andy, like Andy put up with some shit the first year we were together, bro, because I was experiencing a lot of headaches during that time, which I realised why it was food, thanks to Paul, funnily enough,
Food?
who actually recommended me to do a food intolerance test. That was like 2.5
Was
years
it
ago.
food that it was like
Yeah, bro, I was just eating food that just like my body was
didn't
intolerable
work
to.
with you? Yeah,
Yeah, so I had IBS when I was growing up.
Right,
Like
okay.
always had IBS. So dairy always disagreed with me. But basically got to a stage where what I started to understand is that IBS, like the pain that you're experiencing is a feedback to you that you shouldn't be doing it. So if you basically just don't fucking respond to the feedback and you just keep doing it anyways,
then it's going to keep happening. Yeah.
and it will find different ways to keep happening. So it
Okay.
went from having sore stomachs to
The
getting
headache.
sore headaches. So it wasn't until I came in and Paul was like, yeah, like do a food intolerance test. So I
Sorted.
done one, that came back. I used to track my headaches on a whiteboard, mate. That was how
Yep.
anal I got about
Yep.
it. And it was once every 3 days.
Yep.
And then in May of like 2023 or whatever year it would have been, literally that whole month, 2 headaches in 30 days.
Yep.
And I was like, holy shit.
That's
my
because
whole
of that, yeah.
fucking life changed. So it's like, with the kind of like headache piece, it's like, or anything that you have that you know is a deficit, and you're willing to communicate it, where it's like, if I hop on with the boys and I'm really good, probably from the gaming side of things, but it's like when a game starts, you have no choice but to snap into fucking things.
Yep.
You can't sit and mull over and feel sorry for yourself. The game's fucking starting, and I very much feel that way, especially from a leadership perspective. It's your job to show up, especially in turbulent times,
Yep.
and be more of a leader. Your team needs you more then, as opposed to fucking when everything's sweet.
Yep.
It's like anything, it's easy to be it's easy to make promises when you're happy and everything's fucking sweet.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge component of it, man, where it's like having the open honesty to be able to hop on and be like, look boys, this is what's happened today, this is what I'm kind of working on, but in all honesty my stomach's kind of playing up and I've got a bit of a sore head.
Yep.
So if I come across a bit sharp or dull or just not as energetic, that's all.
But you also need your team members, as you said, step up when you are feeling like that. So
sure.
if they can understand what you're dealing with, but also step up and maybe take a bit more responsibility on. If you create that dynamic, that's what you want for a business, because if you want to grow to those big numbers, it's not going to all rely on yourself.
Yep.
I've realised this as well. Like, I'm maybe not the smartest person in the world, but the people that are going to push me to that next level is the people that I work with. So if I could create like a good leadership within myself and lead these people in the right way, get them on board, that's how we're going to push the business. I can't do it all myself. It's impossible.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, mate. I think as well, like my mum always used to say, like, if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, what would happen to your business? And I'd be like,
It'd be done.
yeah, it'd be done. And I think that was
You don't
something.
want that.
Yeah, and as well, mate, we kind of live in I seen an awesome post, I can't remember who it was from recently, but it was like, we live in this blissful place of ignorance when we're young, where we believe that we're immortal and it will never get old.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same shit with that as well, man, where
Yeah.
you just think, like we said about the expectations, we think nothing bad's ever going to happen.
Yep.
And as a result, we kind of stay in this blissful place of ignorance, and then when something bad does happen, it shatters our expectations and it hits our core and we feel shame, and it's like,
Everything's done.
yeah,
The business is going on. I had that like last week, where like just stuff going wrong.
yeah,
Maybe not hitting the numbers you want to hit, and ad accounts not working. You get bank accounts frozen, all this sort of stuff. You could deal with it two ways, like I said before. You could get pissed off with it, or realise that you're going to feel down sometimes. It can't just be up, or it wouldn't be exciting. You wouldn't be in the game of business, because if it was all going well, then what would it be worth?
yeah.
You know. So, but with the both of us, if anything like that happens now, we just laugh it off. Like even the worst things possible. We've had our stores taken down before. We've had like ad accounts getting banned and all that sort of stuff. It's like, what you meant to do? You could either sit and cry about it, or you could actually try and sort it out. So that's the way that we deal with it. Now we just laugh it off.
How have you kind of got to that sstage of being able to
Just because so many different things have happened. Like going back to, I think May 2024, we had had a store, but it was copying someone else. And what they done was they reported us for copyright and all this stuff. We were down for 2 weeks, no money coming in. And at that time, the whole world was falling apart. We're like, our business is done. What's going to happen? They're getting threatened to take into court and all this shit. But if that happens now, we're just like, it's no problem. There's nothing going to come from this. It's just people trying to take down your business, greed, jealousy. So it's just a case of like letting all this shit happen. At the time, it's going to be shit. But realising that it's going to be a learning process for the future and you're going to overcome it, no problem.
It's crazy because you realise how far you've come because we experience that a lot with young entrepreneurs coming in play where they experience something that is like entry level first 3 months that happens to everyone.
Happens all the time.
And like I had a good mate who I think like one of his new clothing pieces went live for his clothing brand. A guy screenshotted it from this big brand, put it on his story and was like, like similar to my brand type shit.
Yep.
And he sent me a screenshot and he was like, am I going to, like, is anything going to happen for this? Is the guy going to sue me? Like, what the fuck's, like, what? It's not even similar though, like, look at the comparison.
Trying to explain himself.
And I'm like, mate, it's all good.
Yeah,
Literally nothing will
happen. It happens all the time for us. Like, I get messages from people that are just starting out. They're like, I've went minus 10% margin today. What am I going to do? I'm like, trust me, chill out. You need to look at it over a longer time period rather than losing 50 quid one day and then making 200 the next day. Look at it from a long-term perspective. What can you do? You can either sit and change loads of stuff on your website or make the changes that matter, which is make more ad creatives. Just focus on improving your business rather than worrying about numbers on a day-to-day basis. Which again, something that we've struggled with before. Like, we do numbers good this one day and then maybe next week it's shit, what's going on? Maybe the ads are not so good. Maybe we've got people stealing our product. Maybe that it's not a product that we should be selling. But you just need to realise, like, focus on the things that you can do to improve, or you're just going to be stuck in a loop of numbers. If you've not hitting this number, my life's not good. And if you, like, just don't attach yourself to these numbers and think, like, am I going to be in e-commerce for 1 year or 10 years? I've only been doing it for like 1 or 2 years. So if I think long time scale, I'm going to be in this game for 10 years. Is 1 week of bad results going to dictate the rest of that? Probably not. If I could keep building my skills, getting better, getting people on board, learning how to be a leader, expanding into different businesses, then over those 5 to 10 years, these things are going to be so insignificant.
100%. I think as well, the ups and downs of like ads, like there's so much unpredictability at times. Like there's days where we've had like 9 applications in a day and it's like,
what's going on?
Oh, we're fucking cooking. And then like literally a few days later we'll have 1. But the ad spend's the same. Like unless
and you're not getting the same results for your spend. And you could either worry about it and think that your business is not working, then maybe the ads are not good, but at the end of the day, maybe look at it on a week time period, a month time period, like look at the actual numbers overall. How many people are we bringing in per month? Are we profitable? Can we pay everyone? Is everything going good? Are we putting enough content out? Maybe not. There might be areas that you're slacking in, so just don't attach yourself to the numbers, at least in the beginning. Focus on getting better.
100. I love that, mate. That's my most common saying, by the way, 100%.
100%.
I just agree so often. But yeah, I think it's something that is so crucial, but it's like being willing to, I think what makes it difficult is you need to be willing to lose cash at a time where you need cash the most. And it's like overcoming that hurdle. I've had this conversation with so many young entrepreneurs specifically where it's like you're kind of at this time period where you need to invest either time or money, and you know you're going to experience the most growth when you do both. And I think it's something that can be hard. Like I've got a training on it that I've ran through where it's like what pill, like red pill or blue pill type shit. It's like, what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose like the time piece where you're going to invest a shit ton of time, or are you going to choose the kind of money piece, fast track it and be willing to lose? And I think both of those two things correlate, and when you actually align both of them, which was the same for us, my biggest regret, to be honest, mate, probably similar to yourself, was not investing more money to start, not investing more time on the things that I now know are the highest points of leverage. But ultimately, how are you meant to know that without doing it?
I think just from the way that I think, like as I was saying before, it's a long game, so I don't need to worry about the numbers on a day-to-day basis. As long as I've got enough money to live and eat, the rest doesn't really matter. If I'm building for a big goal, as long as I'm pushing myself every day towards that goal, the money doesn't really matter, as long as I can continue doing what I'm doing and have that freedom to build these businesses. Like I've been thinking a lot lately in terms of like gratitude. Like I've just found out the other day, it's 2 years since I left my job. So I was at uni, finished uni, and then I was working a part-time job in a shop. And I'm like, that's been 2 years already, but look what I could do. I could come into work every day, sitting with my pal and build a business together. that's online. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So thinking back, sometimes just have that bit of gratitude when you are starting to see some progress, when things aren't going so good. Think of like how much you have in your life, how good you have it, basically.
Yeah. I remember chatting to Reese as well, like I chatted to him about this morning, like when you start to get like even when I said decent bit of dough, like even paying, you start to be able to pay yourself like $3,000 a month.
Yep.
Like you start to realise that you really just need like a couple of K.
You didn't need, exactly.
To be able to like actually like live, have fucking like not have to fucking check like food prices when you go to fucking
don't worry
Tesco.
about it as much. Yeah.
You have to worry really about it. Rent's covered, cars covered, and it's like especially if you're unless you're like fucking staying in like central Glasgow or Edinburgh or whatever. Yeah, you're skint. But I think it is something that when you actually start to deep it, because you think that you need crazy dough to be able to survive, but it's also what I loved about what you said as well is that like people want their cake and eat it, so they want to be in the early startup phases, but they also want to be able to just get nice cars, do all this cool shit, go to all these fancy restaurants. When, bro, for the fucking first 5 years, man, like I'll never forget my mum nearly clotheslined me one of the days when I came down for the room because I had holes in my joggies.
Holes in the joggies,
bro.
That bad.
She was like, I did not bring you up that way.
Yeah.
Like, get some fucking new joggies. Like, Danny, send you money for it. I'm like, no, of course you can't. It's not even a thought though. It's like you really actually have to disconnect from the materialistic shit, especially to begin with, because you're just like, every bit of dough we've just like reinvested. Even though like Phil, for example, I've said this at every stage, we have reinvested, whether it's been into like, I could have paid myself more, but I chose to bring on Andy. I could have paid myself more, I chose to bring on Jack.
What's it worth at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's like
more money, an extra couple of grand a month or whatever it is. It's not worth it long term. As you say, especially in the beginning stages. Like, if I look at it, we've only really started doing well since April 2024. Yeah. So not that long a time period. But the growth in that time has been crazy, but we're probably not at a stage where we want to take out all the money. Yeah. We've invested a big amount in this custom brand, this product that it's got huge potential in it. So we're not wanting to take out any more money than we need, really, because if we keep all the money in the business and we continue to invest, it's going to be worth so much more in the future rather than having a bit of a nicer car right now. Yeah. Obviously, that's maybe what some of us are like striving towards. But at the end of the day, as long as I've got the freedom to create something that I'm truly like invested in, then that's all that matters to me. Yeah,
I love that, bro. It's also crazy how fast time flies with some shit as well, man. Like you can, like if I think about like, I got the A35, like, what was that, like June?
Yep.
Like fuck something me, like bro. It's like fucking 7-8 months that it's just like jumped, and it's like you don't even process it really, like how fast time flies. I think that's another scary thing too. I think that's why that quote of the whole you think you're immortal when you're younger.
I get worried about time all the time. I feel like time's running out. I'm like, I'm not where I need to be right now. This is getting too, I'm nearly 25 and I've not made this amount of money. But again, it comes down to that, just forgetting about the numbers and just focusing on things that actually matter. Yeah. And yeah, that's my whole thinking behind that.
There was a quote I actually put up when I turned 25, which was 25 is the age where they stop saying he has so much potential and instead starts asking where is it.
But then 25, just a number. Like we're so young in terms of like business wise. How many more years you got in business? 40 years, bro. Easy.
Yeah, 3-4 decades. Easy, bro. Easy.
We're only just getting started. Yeah. It's like as soon as you get over that period where it's just starting out, when it starts to become more of a reality that things are actually could go well, that's when like it really starts. So we're only in the very, very beginning stages for both of us, I'd say.
Yeah. I'll never forget, man. I remember I chatted to Yanni Doinov, and he was like, the biggest thing for me is seeing who's still in business in 10 years' time.
You said that to me the other day, yeah. All these new people coming in. Yeah. I'm 10 years in. Yeah. Still going.
100, bro. That's the fucking shit that's always front of mind for me. Like, staying in the game and continuing to fucking grow. Because every day, mate, like, we don't realise, because I think it's probably more front of mind from the gaming side of things, because game time used to be a big thing where it was like, how many hours you put in was what usually equated to the standard that you'd get to. And you'd have a handful of anomalies that would put in less time and still be just as good.
Class, aye.
But most of the time, if you didn't put in the game time, you were always behind the power curve. Yeah, you were always off it. And I think one of the things we don't realise is that game time in business is what we're doing every day. Yeah,
but it doesn't feel like that sometimes. Like we go in the office and I'm in there for like 8 or 9 hours, and sometimes I think, that wasn't even that long. It just flies by.
Yep.
But if you consistently put that across like a whole year, you're actually getting so much further ahead.
Oh, it's crazy.
But sometimes like work doesn't feel like work sometimes, because you're working for yourself, you're working for your business. So it's more enjoyable in that aspect. Like if you're working with people that you enjoy working with, it doesn't feel like a typical job. But as you said, like if you consistently look at the hours you're putting in across 5-10 years in something that you believe in, how you could take it to any level you want. It's just more so about belief and having that goal.
Yeah, like even if we do the maths on like, say you put on 10 hours a day on average, especially in the beginning where you're just investing all as much time as possible, 10 hours a day on average over the course of a year, some days off here and there, like 3,500 plus hours.
Easy.
Just like that.
Easy.
You add it times it by 10 for a decade, 35,000 hours.
Yep.
Like, you times it by 2 days, 70,000 hours. Like, it starts to become like, holy shit. And that's when I kind of blink and I'm like, fuck, I came into business when I was 18, now 25, I turn 26 next month. It's like, in terms of the hours,
a lot of hours.
It's stacking, bro.
Yeah, but now it's starting to pay off.
Yeah, 100%.
It can't, it might take 3 or 4 years before things get really, really good.
Yeah.
But it's all the hours that have equated to now where you are.
Yeah.
At least for me, I think I've only been in proper business for like 1 or 2 years. So I'm very, very early in my journey. But I'm pretty proud of where I've got to so far, but still miles off the pace. I need to be further ahead.
Mate, you
need that drive to keep pushing forward, I think.
Defos agree, mate. You defos blow my mind though with that. Like, literally the question I wrote was, how have you made this happen in such a short time?
You write that down?
Yeah, I literally wrote it down earlier on, because it's something that, to get to a stage, because a lot of people will do what you're doing, but they'll do it through the assumption, maybe through ego, that they believe they can do it because they've made a bit of dough. Whereas you've actually got to this point of thousands of people wanting your time, wanting to learn from you, and then once they pay for it, wanting more. And I think that's something that you've fast tracked, a year to 2 years to a stage where people are willing to spend 250 quid plus on a call just to sit down with you and have a chat,
which is mad. But
it
is pretty mental how quick I've managed to fast track that, because as you said, a lot of people do say that, like, how have you learnt so much in that amount of time? But it's just through running these businesses. With dropshipping, you could go from 0 to 200k a month within 6 months, easy, because it's all about just scaling your ads. So for us, we started I started myself November 2023. First product took off, done 120k in January. But when I look back, I was doing everything wrong, not looking at the numbers, the taxes, all that sort of stuff. So at the end of that, I maybe took 10-15k away, which is a lot of money for somebody who's never made that money before. But looking back, done it all wrong. So I learnt from that. Then we moved on to the second brand, and we've hit 7 figures now on that store. 2 million probably across both stores. And now we've learnt so much that we're ready to take this to the next level. But I have learnt so much in that amount of time, in 1-2 years, just because we've been going at it so hard every single day. One of the biggest game changers for us as well was moving into an office, because I was just working at my bedroom, waking up, sitting on a laptop, getting to work, whereas now we're in the office, we're bouncing ideas off each other all the time. We were able to fast track progress because there were 2 of us. Having a partner in this type of business is extremely important, I think. You could do it all yourself, but if you have 2 of you who are constantly learning together, you could fast track your progress, and that's probably how I've got to this stage now within that time period.
You've also learned to focus on like the right things. I think like there's so many people I'll chat to, whether it's brands or drop shipping, because I was even thinking back, we had a client one of the times that just wanted to trial drop shipping. He was a mate as well, so, and he just wanted to trial it, and he literally just found a few products, bought like whatever it is, whatever the process is that you follow with it, listed it on Amazon, didn't make anything, and then was like, this doesn't work. Whereas like the kind of like process of you finding because even when you look at Yanni as well, like Yanni became so experienced from an aspect of Amazon listings, using leveraging platforms like eBay, etc. Like you became so fucking resourceful from an aspect of Facebook ads. Like a vehicle to generate traffic is literally what it is. That's
how you're generating sales. Like using its platform to the best of its abilities. Like we realised very early on that if you've got a good product, a good offering, you make it a no-brainer for a customer. you could scale so quick from spending £100 a day on Facebook to spending 10 grand a day on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's just having that progressive growth that if you spend more, you've set up the funnel correctly, you've got a good product, you're going to get the money out the back of that.
Yeah.
That's how it works. It's pretty simple in theory. It's just trying to find that product that gets you off the ground. But once you do get off the ground, you start seeing the results coming in. You could progress your growth so fast.
Yeah. Because I think as well with a product, like you don't have to worry about the fulfillment piece of
it's all done for you in
sellers.
China.
Yeah.
So building that relationship with them has been important, because at the end of the day, they're running my business. They're fulfilling all the products. So we need to make sure that we have a good quality product that's arriving on time, because so many people in dropshipping get stuck in a cycle of selling really, really shit products with low quality. Maybe don't send them out on time. They get loads of chargebacks, Facebook ad account bans. They're not doing it for a long-term brand or a long-term vision in Ecom. They're just doing it for a quick bit of money, but they end up always failing because they're going the wrong way about it.
Yeah.
Whereas with us, we are very, very careful in terms of what ads we put up. We upload. We don't want to go against any meta policies, because we know that we're in it for the long term.
Yeah.
We want to build something that's here in 10 years. We don't want to just make a quick bit of money and then dip, essentially.
Yeah. Nah, I love that, mate. I love it, bro. We've been going for nearly an hour and a half.
Has that been an hour and a half already? No way.
We're like an hour and 20 minutes in. Yeah, I mean, any kind of like final points? Obviously, you're, from a content perspective, you're on YouTube and Twitter.
Mainly, yep.
Yeah, what's the kind of like tags, just so people can find you?
JackInEcom on both YouTube and Twitter.
Nice.
Posting every single day on Twitter and maybe 3 or 4 videos a week on YouTube.
Awesome.
The progression on that has been absolutely mad. As I said before, the feedback that I've been getting, the comments, that's the reason I do it. I want to help people out, and yeah, that's a focus for 2025. Keep doing that, and yeah, alongside the businesses, it's going to be a good year, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, mate. What's from a content perspective, just so people know what they'll be like looking into? What are you doing on? Like, is it like day in the life on YouTube? What is it?
It's a lot of content based on how to get started, because I know a lot of people are stuck in that cycle of just getting started. They don't know how to get from 0 to 1. Yeah. So a lot of it's just theory or on the computer. I do a lot of videos right now on like a whiteboard. So I've got like a camera up here,
nice.
Me writing on the whiteboard, sort of like, I think Hormoz has done that sort of style before, just writing on the whiteboard, going through theories of how to structure ads, how to set up your ad account, how to find winning products. It's all the very basic information, but there's also stuff on the Twitter as well that are a bit more in depth, like small little tweaks you can make to your Facebook ad account, or different things you can add to your website to get that extra bit conversion, and yeah, stuff like that.
Love it, bro. Love it. Sounds fucking awesome, mate. Well, people now know where to find you. Your content's going to be continue to be popping, which is fucking awesome. Yeah, any final things that you wanted to touch on that we've not had the chance to? Not really, but for a first podcast, I think I've hopefully done pretty well. Oh, you smashed it, bro. I've enjoyed that thoroughly, and a great host. You've made it easy for me. Bro. I knew, it's funny, Jack was asking me before what kind of prep I do for podcast episodes. For people that I know well, zero, because the prep's already been done. And I love the kind of natural flow of conversation. And I think as well, when you have a plan, it can become too rigid. But yeah, also it's been amazing to be working with you as well on YNL for the last like 4 or 5 months, mate. It's been insane. So yeah, troops, if you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. We've got episodes going up obviously every single week at the moment. Spotify, the same. Let us know what your favourite part was. And obviously if you're coming from over Jack's side of things, I appreciate you checking us out. And as always, troops, have an incredible day.